everyone. Welcome back to the Whippy Studio, and welcome to a brand new podcast I am starting with my dad here. We're going to be talking about The Walking Dead, the whole show, hopefully. Our podcast is called Undead Talk. So thanks for joining me, Dad.
Hey, this is awesome. Thanks for inviting me.
Yes, it's been a while since we have done a podcast together. We're kind of breaking away from just the Marvel and Star Wars stuff, and we're starting something new, and this is going to be a lot of fun. So, I know you've watched some of The Walking Dead before. What's been your experience with the show?
Yeah, so I watched Walking Dead from the very beginning when it came out, and I was addicted, loved it, got together with a group of people. We watched it each week. We talked about it. I read the graphic novels. It was an experience. But somewhere around season 5, for whatever reason, I kind of fell away from it, and my friends did too. So I know it kept going, and there's spinoffs and all kinds of stuff. But eventually, I was interested. What happened? What's the answers to the stories? And, how did the drama resolve? And so I was curious, and Micah said, hey, let's watch a show together. And I said, well, how about The Walking Dead? So we went back to the very beginning, to the very first episode, and watched it together. And believe it or not, Micah liked it. And I liked it too, watching it again. And I saw things I didn't see the first time. So I'm excited to go on this journey with you. The Undead Talk, not a TED Talk. It's the Undead Talk.
Yeah.
And we're going to be talking about The Walking Dead from the beginning to, maybe to the end.
Maybe to the end. There's a lot to cover. I looked at it. There's 5 or 6 spin-off shows along with the 11 seasons of this show. So there's just a lot to get through.
Yeah.
But this will be fun. So I think these first 3 episodes were a pretty solid start to the series. I think episode 3 might have been my favorite, but we'll get into them. So the first one, it's called Days Gone By, and the little Netflix summary says, Rick searches for his family in a world terrorized by the Walking Dead. Morgan and Dwayne help teach Rick the new rules for survival. So overall, what were your overall thoughts on the pilot of the show?
Well, I think it's interesting the way they filmed the show, the way that, of course, it was written first as a graphic novel, and then it turned into the TV show. I thought it was interesting how they showed real life people, in this case, a cop, a deputy, sheriff and a deputy, doing what they always do, and in a gunfight with bad guys, right? Mm-hmm. And Rick gets shot, and he goes to the hospital, and he goes to sleep, and he wakes up, and the world has changed. And so that particular story is captivating to me. And I stepped into Rick's shoes there for a moment, thought about it, how bewildering and confusing it would be to wake up one day and the world has changed and you're experiencing it brand new, and you don't see anyone around to explain it to you. I thought that was a great way to start. What do you think?
Agreed. And it starts off, literally the first scene of the show is him, and he shoots a little zombie girl. And you mentioned this, that it shows how high the stakes are. This is a big deal that he had to go that far with that. They are the walkers are a big threat. They made that clear.
To actually kill a girl zombie.
Yeah.
This is big stuff, and a lot at stake.
Yeah, right? And then we went to the sheriff, and we went to Rick and Shane, and they were just talking about their normal lives, a very jarring difference from the first scene, and then it went to a gunfight, which is a bit more normal, and then it went to crazy.
Yeah.
But I thought it was a solid introduction, and they didn't waste any time by getting into it. I thought it was a very engaging start for the show. And there's only 6 episodes this season, so they don't have a lot of time to tell a full season arc. So it makes sense they jumped right off the bat with episode 1.
Yeah, so Rick is wandering through the hospital, shooting zombies, kind of learning that the world's changed as he goes. Mm-hmm. And eventually, after he gets out of the hospital and sees helicopters and piles of dead bodies, and the world is completely different when he's outside the hospital, and he wanders home, goes back to his house, and he encounters Morgan and Morgan's son Dwayne.
Yeah.
And Rick learns. He hears the story of how the world's changed. There's a lot of humanity in the show, and I think really the heart of The Walking Dead, and we'll see as we go through this, is not about the zombies at all. It's about the human drama, the human condition, and what does it mean to be a human being, and what are you willing to do to survive? And so Dwayne and Morgan are, in this thing, and Morgan's wife is a zombie. And so he's confronted with, what do I do? Do I kill her? Do I not kill her?
He did not, though. He resisted, and he did not kill her. But I thought that was, like, a really, big, emotional moment, and the actor did, a great job at, you could, see, the gears, changing in his mind, whether he was going to do this or not, and he did not.
I thought it was interesting that his wife, as a zombie, knocked on the door, tried to get in. In other words, she's a zombie. Something has changed in her, but there's still something left of her that she knows to go home.
She knows this is her home.
She knows. She knows. Yeah. She's changed, but there's still something in it, which I think, again, it talks about the stakes here. To kill someone, to kill another human being is a big thing, and it affects you. When you're in a war, people come back from war, there's PTSD, there's something about, we shouldn't kill people. And so here you have these human beings thrust into a trauma-filled scenario where they're having to make decisions about killing, the girl, killing the wife, all of these things. Because, if they don't, or they don't figure out a way around it, they could be infected, and then, they're part of the monsters, so to speak.
Yes. And we also see that Rick's wife, Lori, and his son, Carl, they're gone. They escaped when this whole thing started. Yeah,
they went looking for Rick. And Rick was, supposedly they took everybody out of the hospital to Atlanta. So Lori and Carl go to Atlanta, and they hook up with Shane and some other survivors outside Atlanta and a camp.
Yeah, at a campsite, yeah. And we find out that, and this is the drama, the love drama, the whole thing, is that Rick's wife Lori and Shane, they're having an affair.
Yeah,
which was very unexpected. But
again, it's one thing. We don't know how much time has passed. I mean, I'm sure we could go back and research it, but some time has passed, month maybe, I don't know. And Lori believes her husband's dead.
Right. Yeah.
And she's in a trauma situation. She thinks she lost her husband. She's lost her home. She's lost everybody except for Carl. And then, of course, Rick's best friend, Shane. And so she's put in a situation where she needs comfort. She needs companionship. Yeah. And they make the decision to have this affair, and she thinks her husband's gone. And so, there's a lot of drama there. What would you do? How do you handle these situations? And we can't quite understand because we're not in that situation. But when we try to put ourselves in a situation, there's this empathy and sympathy for people who are in a terrible situation, and they're having to make decisions: life, death, survival, comfort, food, all of these things. It's pretty big.
And I noticed there were some similarity with the Salem witch trials and the Red Scare and all of that hysteria and paranoia that all those people went through because of the communism and being accused of witchcraft and all of that. And it's kind of the same thing here, is that people are on edge with doing this. They make decisions that they might not normally make if things were normal. Lori might not have made the decision to get do this affair if the stakes weren't so high with all these walkers and everything. So it's making people make questionable decisions, just the threat of the walkers and all of that, and it makes for an interesting storytelling.
Yeah, and we're going to see it in the next couple episodes with Merle. So let's go ahead and jump into the end of episode 1. Rick is in Atlanta, and he ends up getting mobbed by a bunch of zombies and finds himself in a tank for safety, for shelter. Yeah. And zombies are outside trying to get in. And so that's how
Yeah.
episode 1 ends.
A lot happened in episode 1. It was a long episode. We go into episode 2, which is called Guts, and the little summary says, Rick unknowingly causes a group of survivors to be trapped by walkers and must confront an enemy far more dangerous than the undead. So this one was like an action episode. It kind of took the setup from episode 1, and it delivered. We got new characters, not much with like the campsite stuff with like Lori and Shane. It was mostly like we see how much of a threat these walkers really are in this episode. Like that, I feel like they go deeper on that. But we meet this group of people who's like trapped inside the town, and we have Glenn, Andrea, Jackie, T-Dog, Morales, and Merle. And Glenn helps Rick out of the tank because the zombies are distracted because they're eating the horse. And there's like a lot of like kind of disturbing stuff, like when they were eating the horse, and then like when they had to like rub like the stuff on their bodies. That really grossed me out. But you could like tell like it's such like a drastic situation that you kind of have to do whatever you can, even if it's something as disturbing as that. But yeah, kind of what did you think overall of this episode? And
well, I think there's a lot of tension in this episode.
Mm-hmm.
So this group of people is kind of stuck, trapped on a roof of a building.
Mm-hmm.
And again, tensions are high. Trauma is being revealed. Childhood trauma is being revealed. We don't know Merle's story, but Merle is racist, and he is saying things that are unacceptable in common speech, right? And so he's saying some racist things to T-Dog, and it creates a lot of tension. And Rick is the new guy in the scene, and they don't like Rick because Rick had got them in this situation where they're trapped. Mm-hmm. But Rick jumps in as a sheriff and makes a decision. This is a big decision to handcuff Merle to a pipe there on the roof of the building, to keep him from causing harm and damage to the group of survivors.
Yeah, which was a smart decision, especially because it wouldn't have been if Merle had stuck around with them. It wouldn't have been good. I think people would have gotten even more overwhelmed when there's already like so much like tension going on of like getting out of the place. But yeah, there was like I like the teamwork and all the group scenes. I thought it was like a fun dynamic in the episode, and by the end they're all able to escape. They make it out because they rub that stuff all over their
yeah, they take the zombie yuck or whatever, and they their zombies are attracted to humans because they smell different. So they decided to smell like everything else, and so they're able to get through for the most part, and they're able to escape everybody except for Merle because he is handcuffed on the roof.
Yes, they left Merle behind, but the character T-Dog, he does chain the doors so it would make the zombie, like, make it harder for the zombies to reach him. So I guess that was, like, his way of, like, trying to help him a little bit.
Yeah, he dropped the key. I mean, he was going to get him out, but he dropped the key. And so, Merle was there, and T-Dog feels guilty, and that we really see this in the next episode.
Yeah.
So they escape. Merle's on that. So that wraps up episode 2. Episode 3 is called Tell It to the Frogs.
Yes. In this episode, things heat up. There's not as much action. It's a lot about like the characters and their dynamics, because we finally get to see Rick, Lori, and Carl reunite, which was like something in the works for like these first couple episodes. And what I guess I kind of do like about like the fact that it was a shorter season is that we didn't have to wait as long for that reunion. Because if it would have been, I don't know, like 10 episodes, we might have had to wait till deeper into the season. So I guess I do kind of like that. They don't like drag it out. Like this was like a good time, I think, for that reunion.
So then when there was this reunion, you used the camera pane, it went over and you could see Shane's face. Mm-hmm. He was happy for his best friend to be found, but he was heartbroken because the girl he fell in love with, or maybe he's been in love with for years. We don't know the whole story there, but he recognizes that he's no longer with Lori.
No, he realizes his like that's all over.
Yeah, it's over.
Now that Rick's back, he's lost his like chance with her. which I feel like is like a tough. But it just goes to show you that like the whole idea, it wasn't like a good idea to begin with.
It wasn't, and again,
affair,
yeah, I mean, we see this over and over again. They make decisions that are not wise, and they regret them. And the reason why they make these decisions is because of stress and trauma. And when we're outside of our safety nets, so to speak, sometimes we make decisions that we come back to regret. And speaking of that, now we have this whole scene of what do we do with Merle, right? And there's dialogue between the members of this group. Do we go back and get Merle? And Rick actually tells Lori that he's thinking about going back and getting Merle. But then we have Merle's brother coming back after a hunting escapade. And Merle's brother is Daryl. What was your reaction to Daryl?
Well, definitely crazy. Not as bad as Merle, though, it seemed, with like how he his personality. But you could definitely tell they were siblings.
Yeah,
so,
they were siblings.
Yeah.
They had a rough upbringing. You can tell. That racism, that a lot of violent speech, and again the zombie apocalypse amplifies all of those things that were part of their personality. And so Daryl comes back and he is livid. I mean, he is so mad and goes to fight and all that, and they eventually have to subdue him. But when they subdue him, and Daryl's like, "Well, where's my brother?" and they explain the whole thing, Rick's said, "You know what? I'm going back."
Yeah.
And an interesting thing, he already made that decision. He made the decision before Daryl came back that he was going to go back. He told Lori that.
Right. He's a good.
So why is he going back? Well, because as bad as Merle is, he's still a human being, and they know it's wrong to leave somebody to die.
Yeah, like it's still like nobody deserves to die. Even someone like Merle, who was awful.
So there's this element of grace. There's this element of forgiveness. There's this element of we need to go and rescue him.
Yeah, and I like that they understood where Daryl was coming from too, because it's understandable if like you found out like people like left your brother to die, you would be upset too.
Yep.
So it makes him more sympathetic of a character too, even with his personality. But Lori's really upset that Rick's going off again, which is also understandable.
Yeah, she has her family back together, and now Rick's leaving, and it's a zombie apocalypse. He might not come back this time.
Yeah.
So, she's questioning his wisdom. He has this moral quest to rescue somebody they left behind.
Yeah.
And both of those emotions and both of those ways of thinking and disagreeing are completely understandable.
Yeah, but Carl believes his dad will be fine.
Yes.
He has faith in his dad that he'll make it out.
Yeah.
But we also... So, yeah, the gang leaves, and they're also going to pick up a bag of guns that Rick dropped.
Correct.
They're going to secure that. And there was something related to, like, him communicating with Morgan. A way to communicate with him.
Yeah, they had left when Morgan and Rick split up.
Yeah.
There was this agreement that they were going to communicate at a particular time. And so Rick, feels like he owes Morgan... they have a bond and they want to communicate, and maybe Morgan and Dwayne could, if they're not safe, could find safety in this group. So yeah, that was a pretty powerful. So they go back. The first stop along the way is to rescue Merle.
And Merle is gone, and his hand is there. He cut off his own hand, and that's
how the episode ended. So dun, dun, dun.
That was a good cliffhanger.
He had to get out. He had to get out of the handcuffs, or the zombies would get him.
I figured he wouldn't be there, but it was still a good ending. And it's a great setup for next episode with them. I'm assuming they'd be trying to find Merle. Sorry. Merle.
Yeah.
Wherever he is at. But I guess the other main thing, there was like a few smaller things, is that we also have the bonding going on between Carl and Shane. Shane still wants to like try to form a connection with.
Oh, yeah. And Shane wants to be that father figure.
And they go and try to catch frogs, which is why the episode is called that.
And then there's that other one, the woman, I can't remember her name, her husband beats her.
Oh yeah, that was wild. Yeah, Ed, the big guy Ed, and his husband Carol,
Wife Carol,
or his wife Carol, and all of the ladies like think she deserves better, and they're like standing up for her, which is also like a positive thing that I liked. Like the woman,
and this like abuse has been going on a while, probably way before the zombie apocalypse. She got herself into an abusive marriage.
Yeah,
and Ed hits her.
Yeah, in front of everyone too.
Yeah,
like he does not care about all the ladies there. But what he was not expecting was Shane to come out of nowhere and beat him up. What did you think of that?
And Shane, again, he's angry because of what happened with Rick and Lori, right? Mm-hmm. He's lost Lori, so he has this anger built in him, and he takes that out on Ed. And Ed deserved to be put in his place, not to be beat up, but he deserves to be, go through some sort of restitution and hopefully restored. But he's an abusive husband and an abusive dad. It looks like, or I think, isn't there a daughter in there somewhere? Maybe not. I don't remember.
Maybe. I don't know.
But anyway, all that being said, is Shane then beats the crap out of Ed.
Okay, almost kills him.
And almost kills him. So again, a lot of tension, a lot of decisions being made out of emotions, a lot of decisions being made into the high stress. And a lot of regrets on those decisions later. We see that theme, that thread running through these episodes of bad decision and then regret and then trying to fix that. Completely understandable. But, I think of it, if you relate it to our lives, sometimes we're in high stress situations. We make poor decisions.
Yeah.
And we come back and regret them. And how can we learn to be, to calm ourselves down in those high stress moments to make good decisions, not that ones that'll cause us harm or other people harm.
Well, it's great because these characters were introduced. They're all flawed. They all have their flaws, which makes them engaging and relatable characters. And it's kind of what hooked me is the characters. They're not perfect. They have like a lot of like layers to them. You can tell, except maybe the character of like Ed seems like pretty one note. But who knows? Maybe there'll be like stuff with him later on.
Yeah, and I think maybe this is to set up something with Carol.
Yeah, because even after, she goes over to her husband is, crying, she doesn't, go with the woman and, abandon her husband. She's very, committed to him.
Yeah, she loves him.
Yeah.
She loves him for who he is, not how he's acting.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Again, and that's love. Now, abuse is wrong. So somewhere in there needs to be a correction. And I think Shane went about it the wrong way. Shane should have pulled him to the side and set him straight. He didn't need to do it through violence, but it's a different world, and violence and survival in that world is the name of the game. And we see that effects today when we act out in violence. There's so many consequences.
Yeah, but I think that's kind of it. So it sets up the next 3 episodes, which I assume are gonna. First thing is what happened to Merle. And that whole thing, and then whether Rick will find out about what happened between Lori and Shane, which I assume he will at one point. And also the growing dynamics, are they going to leave this campsite? Are they going to stay there? Is Morgan and Dwayne going to come back this season? There's only 3 episodes left, so I'm not sure exactly what will happen. But I think out of these 3, I think episode 3 was my favorite because they kind of found a good balance. It focused more on the characters. It kind of set up what's going to happen next. Did you have an episode that you...
You know what? I see it as one long story. I really don't see the clear separation. I see it as one story. I like it all. I like it all equally. I like parts of it better than others. I'm not a fan of violence, so it's some of those scenes are hard to watch.
Yeah.
But they're real, and they're raw, and like you said, flawed people. And hopefully we, throughout this journey through The Walking Dead, the Undead Talk, not TED Talk, Undead Talk.
Undead Talk, yeah.
We are learning about ourselves as we watch this show.
Yeah, and discovering everyone's flawed. Everyone makes bad choices.
Absolutely.
And I think so far it seems to be a good show. It's not just about the violence and the craziness of the zombies. In fact, that's a smaller part as to the overall story of the show. about these characters that are just trying to make it through and making understandable poor choices along the way. I think it's a great concept.
It is. It really isn't about the zombies really at all. The zombies just bring out the actions. It raises the stress, and these flawed characters make, bad decisions, good decisions. They join together in community, strong community, because they have to survive together. I think there's a lot we can learn through this series.
So we're going to go and end it here, but I think in the next one we're going to talk about 4 or 6 to finish off season 1.
Yeah, finish off season 1.
So that'll be good, and then we'll kick off with season 2, which I know have more episodes in each season. But yeah, this was like a good start to the show, so thanks for joining me. Comment down below your thoughts on The Walking Dead. No spoilers, please. But yeah, so thanks everyone for listening, and bye everyone.